Here's a story from CNN. Pam Bondi's hate speech comments lead even some conservatives to cry foul. They say within hours of Charlie Kirk's assassination, Donald Trump signaled a rather curious crackdown. My administration will find each and every one of those who contributed to this atrocity and to other political violence, including the organizations that fund it and support it. There was no evidence last week that the shooter was anything other than a lone wolf actor, and there still isn't. False. There is evidence because people had foreknowledge. I didn't say proof, but evidence. Try harder, CNN. It wasn't difficult to see how such a thing could get out of hand. And the administration has done little in the days, blah, blah, blah. Conservative activists are already drawing attention to random people who celebrated Kirk's death online, while some GOP lawmakers are pushing for employers to fire workers who posted things such as their lack of sympathy for Kirk's murder. Even Attorney General Pam Bondi and White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller have criticized employees who allegedly refused to print posters honoring Kirk, with Bondi saying they could be prosecuted. Trump on Monday said he'd consider naming far-left Antifa movement domestic terrorists. And people, I'm going to pause real quick. Antifa is an international association. It can be named a foreign terrorist organization. I digress. In the Oval Office on Monday, the president responded to a conservative journalist who said the anti-war protesters near the White House still have their First Amendment right. Yeah, well, I'm not so sure. Through it all, many on the right largely shrugged. But Bondi on Monday made it so some of them could no longer shrug. They quickly cried foul over her comments on a podcast that the Justice Department would go after hate speech. The National Review's Charles C. Cook wagered the Supreme Court would reject Bondi's view 9-0. She should know this, Britt Hume said. Conservative radio host Eric Erickson wagered that such a standard could lead to prosecutions of preachers for opposing gay marriage. Even vehemently pro-Trump pundits flatly rejected it. Charlie Kirk literally died defending the principle that Pam Bondi is trashing, said right-wing influencer Hans Monk. Just unreal. Now, the point brought up before this segment is, right now, what we are experiencing is the left using concurrent statements and actions to terrorize and threaten death on people like me. It's personal. And they are doing it in a way where they fragment the threats so they don't cross the threshold into illegality. In order for speech to be illegal, it has to, well, there's a few categories. Fraudulent, meaning you lie to someone with the intent to take resources from them, in which case your presentation and delivery of information, the speech, is actually committing a crime. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about when does someone say something, and that is creating a clear and imminent threat, which means you have to tell a person, you go do this, or do this at this time. So if you told someone to commit a crime and said here at this time, you have created an imminent threat. You have crossed the line. You are a participant in that crime. What we're experiencing now and the challenge we face, the knee-jerk reaction from many conservatives to cry foul over hate speech makes sense. But what's happened is, in the simplest of terms, I'll give you the broad explanation first. Charlie Kirk was assassinated. Prominent liberals are saying he deserved it. And then many others saying, y'all are next, and they're putting up lists. The message is clear. While no individual is telling you you are going, they are instructing someone to kill you, so they've not created an imminent threat. Together, they create an imminent threat where not a single one can be prosecuted. This is speech black bloc tactics, I would call it. Well, let me just wrap this up.
Can I read her quote, because I feel like it's really...
Okay, read the quote.
This is important here because the quotes have fired up a lot of people. She said, there's free speech, then there's hate speech, and there's no place, especially now, especially what happened to, after what happened to Charlie in our society. We will absolutely target you, go after you if you are targeting anyone with hate speech, anything that crosses the aisle. And
she's wrong, because hate speech means using language that demeans a specific social group or class of people.
Yeah.
And that is protected, and that's unambiguous.
And she should resign.
And it's stupid of her to say, and I feel like she's been dropping the ball on this and some other issues. I mean, I really feel like it's a very aggressive, unforced error. Everybody on the right has been slamming her on this one thing.
She makes a lot of them. But so let me clarify something real quick. The issue we're dealing with right now, with that context in mind, is that if an individual said, Tim Pool, I'm going to kill you, and I'm going to do it at this point, like that's a death threat. I can actually contact the FBI and they will be criminally charged and I'll get a restraining order or protection or something like that. But when they say someone should kill Tim Pool because he's a Nazi, and then another person says in response to that post, or just another post, here's Tim Pool's address, another person then responds with, I'm going to come meet you, Tim, at your house at this address, we understand what they did. They fragmented the death threat into 3 pieces so that you can't prosecute any one of them. I then personally have a terroristic threat made against my life, which is explicit and in front of my face, and this has literally been happening, and I'm told by law enforcement we can't do anything about it. They're allowed to do that.
Can I ask you then, how about we get specific and I'll give you an example. There's a prominent leftist Twitch creator that constantly promotes violence and uses euphemisms of violence against the right and justifies violence against the right. Do you think they should be banned off Twitch?
Who?
I'm talking about Hassan, yeah.
Well, I'll be careful to say I haven't seen enough of Hassan's content, and out-of-context videos aren't enough for me to make determination. I've seen the videos that have circulated on X where Hassan said stuff like gun him and things like that. And I
think he's expressed support or tacit support for Hezbollah, Hamas, terrorist organizations. He said America deserved 9/11, I believe, is one
that's
of
all free speech.
his more famous quotes. Totally, but we're talking about this line, right, of where they're encouraging violence against the right. I know he's going on spiels
my
of encouraging violence against right-wingers and how the Zionists should be unpersoned. They shouldn't be welcomed in society. They should be treated the way that Nazis were.
I get it. Supporting foreign terror organizations verbally is free speech, explicitly. Supporting Israel or rejecting Israel, you are allowed to express those opinions. Now, if a prominent streamer said, if you didn't want Charlie Kirk, if you wanted Charlie Kirk alive, Donald Trump shouldn't have been the president in the second term. And then in a different show, I believe before this said, conservatives need to be made to fear, or conservatives need to fear that they will be killed when they go out. We understand the intention of that when you say, when the first part of that is after Charlie Kirk's assassination. You are saying if you express your political views through the ballot box, the left will murder you. So the message there is now clear, but did it cross the line into illegality? It did not. So it goes right before the line and says, whoa, we know what he's saying, but he didn't say anybody should go individually take an action. Then someone on Instagram or on Threads or on X says, here's an idea, and posts a list of names. My name's in it. And I know what the context of that means. Everyone does. A judge would. They'd look at that and say, we know exactly what you were saying with that. But it doesn't cross the line. We now live in a society where I can look at Tweedledee and Tweedledum, send me a death threat because one talks and the other finishes, and the law does nothing about it. Now, we all agree, as a society, the law says you can't send death threats. You can't issue death threats, verbally, written, or otherwise. That's a crime. But when Tweedledee says, I think someone needs to kill a Nazi, and then Tweedledum goes, hey, look, everyone, there's the Nazi. We know that they just said, go kill him. And we've seen this taking place. When Luke Rudkowski was mercilessly beaten in Germany because some random guy pointed at him and yelled, Nazi Schweinhund, and the other random people ran up and started punching him, and they didn't even know why. They didn't know or care. It is a mob. And when we see this was what? 7 years ago. Luke was pummeled and beaten in Germany. A journalist with another young journalist, they were both beaten, and one had serious damage to his knee because someone yelled Nazi. We know why they say this. I think Phil and Blair had a similar tweet. They don't call you a fascist because they want to kill you. They what is it? They
don't call you a fascist because they want to kill you. They call you a fascist in order to make it okay to kill you. They don't believe you're a fascist.
I'm sorry. They don't want to kill you because they're a fascist.
Yes.
They call you a fascist so that they can kill you.
Yeah.
So here's the issue right now. I agree. Pam Bondi's statement was bad. However, how do we reconcile that with the internet and social media, the ability of individuals to collectively issue death threats, they are now immune from prosecution? On top of that, I will add, Antifa and far-left black bloc tactics have made them immune from prosecution as well for physical violence. Because like we saw in 2017, when 200 or so individuals got together, organized, and wore the same thing, they set fires to the streets, they smashed windows, and when the police arrested them, they had the charges dropped, sued the city, and won. The city couldn't prosecute any individual because the argument is always, is there reasonable doubt? And when you ask a jury, they say, what clothes was the man wearing? A black hoodie, a black mask, sunglasses, and black jeans. And you grabbed him after he threw a Molotov cocktail. I did. And how many other people were there wearing a black hoodie, sunglasses, a black mask, and black jeans? And 200? So how do you know you grabbed the right guy? Because I saw him do it. And then the defense looks at the jury and says, do you believe beyond a reasonable doubt that man grabbed the right guy? And they go, no, acquitted, free to go. They have made themselves immune to prosecution when they firebomb buildings. They have made themselves immune to prosecution when they issue death threats. What do? Well, honest question. Because they've exploited our goodwill and our it's called the liberal democracy. I know it's not an actual democracy, but we refer to societies where we allow the individuals to have representation, constitutional republic with democratically elected representatives. They have exploited the system we've built. They are destroying the fabric of it because it was intended for a good moral people who act in good faith, and they don't. So I'm just saying this. The question before us right now is, if someone goes online and makes a veiled threat that can be interpreted as one, like we know what they're saying. When someone says something like, just found your address online, Tim Pool. I'm coming to meet you. How's Charlie? That's free speech. But you know what the intention is. Mm-hmm. And they're doing things like that like crazy. Yeah. They're posting online saying, how's your friend Charlie? How are things going out in West Virginia? Here's a list of people that we're going to put out there just because. Then someone says something like, I think I'm going to follow up on that list exactly how you'd expect. They're making TikTok videos where they say, who's going to go do it? You know what it means. And everyone knows what it means, but it's free speech.
Yeah.
Normally, we can't function this way.
When you take the puzzle piece, each person's statement is a piece of a puzzle that makes an obvious image. It's conspiracy. But you need a crime to have happened for it to become known as a conspiracy. Until then, it's like, can't prove that they're conspiring until something bad happens. And you're like, I don't know. But I keep looking at Saul Alinsky, dude. Saul Alinsky, who wants to, I don't know if he's communist or what, rules for radicals. The real action is in the enemy's reaction. That is what we have to be aware of, is that whatever the reaction to this is, it's not an answer, but
that's my point. The left has boxed us in intentionally to make a choice. They can either terrorize us and engage in overt stochastic terrorism, that's their term, or we can ask Trump to put a stop to it. Either way, they have a contingency in place. It's a rock and hard place. But I'll just point out this. We've highlighted this quite a bit recently. D.C. to pay $1.6 million to settle claims from 2017 Inauguration Day demonstrations.
Infuriating.
The government charged these individuals in the black bloc, these far leftists, with conspiracy because their argument is when you all dress the same to cover up the crimes of those around you and make it hard to prosecute, you have conspired. They lost, were sued, and lost again, and we, the taxpayer, paid $1.6 million to far leftists who we know, and I filmed, firebomb.
I can't believe that they lost that court case. And it's likely because of who the actual judge was in it, because it's a judge appointed by the left. He was a leftist, and he didn't think they did anything particularly bad. And it's horrible that we have to live under this situation. But the only thing I can think of is, do everything you can to have conservatives appointing the judges. But that's not actually a solution.
Well, I just think Tim's point, put it perfectly, is they're exploiting our goodwill, and like carefully using that word exploiting. Because you just have to believe these people when they say these things. Like that's just the point we're at. Is I don't know how many more people will have to die until conservatives realize this. Is like you have to believe these people when they're saying these things.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.